Yo, what's going on, man? Today is July the 9th. This is the ChrisBeCappinn NBA/WNBA show. We only got one game on the board for today. So I think it'll be a quicker show. Maybe you guys got some comments, some questions. You leave them in the comment section and we can get to those. I'm potentially looking towards, I thought about making, just because we only had one day, kind of looking at some future markets as well. Um, but also with the Olympic break coming in, I feel like that can throw things off just a tad bit. It'll be my first year capping the WNBA with the Olympic break, and you kind of gotta rely on injuries and all of those things. So I was going through looking at some markets. I don't think it's anything that I'm too keen on playing, even though I guess it is one that we could talk about as well. But yeah, let's get into the one game that we have for today. So I guess I'll go through the comments first because I didn't give it any plays out for the games on Sunday, and of course we didn't have any games yesterday. I will say, reminder, if you're watching this and you didn't catch the show yesterday, I had Ski on. Me and Ski went through. I didn't think that we would do it that way, but we went through every single team yesterday and talked about it. Talked about updated additions and subtractions through free agency, and kind of talked about how we would play the team. So if you guys are interested in that show and you missed it yesterday, definitely go back and check that one out over on YouTube. And let's get into the comments that we have for today before we get into the game. Big Zan says they need more WNBA games or games on, because I'll be damned if I'm left with MLB all season. Yeah, it's either you hate it or you don't. I feel like that's how it is with MLB. As far as the games for tomorrow, we got an early start time tomorrow. I always talk about, for people who are new to WNBA, they have these camp day games, and it's about that time for the camp day games. Tomorrow we actually got 3 games that start before noon or earlier. So yeah, some interesting games that start before noon as well. So we'll should have probably just looked ahead towards those, but probably won't on this show. What up, Mitchell? He says, top of the morning, let's cash and get back on track. Make sure you press the like button for Chris. Yeah, I always talk about not doing a lot of self-promotion, but if you guys enjoy the show, yeah, take 1 second out your day and hit the like button. It definitely helps the show for sure. It helps the algorithm. Other sharp minds get into the chat, tell some of the plays from the chat, from myself. So yeah, that'd be helpful for sure. Let's see. Jay says, but we need 16 to 20 teams instead of 12. The expansion is coming. I think Golden State has the what are they called? Don't give me the line. I can't remember the exact name, how to pronounce it, but yeah, the expansion for the WNBA is coming, especially as the eyes start to watch the league and the revenue starts to grow. It's definitely coming. What up, Justin? My guy here with us always. Christian says, word, they need more WNBA teams, especially with the growing popularity of it. To be honest, the legalizing the sports betting has a lot to do with it. I mean, that helps as well. That definitely helps as well. What up to my guy, Chad? Helm says, Jazz Grizzlies game was a movie last night. I did not watch any of that. Chad says, Light Day took the Lynx to win. Lynx to win by 1 to 10. That's a nice way to play it, Chad. I like that a lot. Plus 160 as well. So for them just not to blow the sparks out, I could see that. Could definitely see that. What up to my guy Eric? He says, what's happening? Christian says tomorrow's a huge slate, so good games to look forward to. Yeah, definitely some good games to look forward to. 5 games tomorrow. Every team except 2 will be in action tomorrow. And you got Chicago in the first leg of a back-to-back. They got Atlanta, then got the Liberty. So yeah, we probably should have just looked ahead. I mean, I'll tell you guys what I'm looking at already towards the end of the show. What up, Midnight Toker? He says he took the Sparks team total under. We're gonna get there for sure. Definitely gonna talk about that. Courtney Williams over her points, 12.5. Helms like, what up, Peasy? Big Smoothie says, morning king. Let's do some capping. Let's get right to it, my brother. The Valkyries, that's what it is. The Valkyries. I was about to call them the Kyries, but you're right, Mitch. Meech. It's the Valkyries. That's what it is. The Valkyries. It's like a woman leader, strong woman leader, I think, or something like that is what the definition is. I remember seeing it, and I was like, what is that? But it's like a lady warrior, Yeah, the Valkyries, the Golden State Valkyries, I think is what it is. Dropping Dime says, I know we aren't talking about tomorrow's game, but Storm moving from +3.5 to +5 is interesting. I see +5.5 Dropping Dimes, but I'm in agreement with you. Definitely in agreement with you. Looks like it is dropping back down, but I saw 5.5 when I woke up about a couple hours ago. Yaza Pick says, Chris making Tuesdays, Chris Money making Tuesdays, praises to the Most High. Absolutely. Helm says Ace is gonna be fun tomorrow. Yes, an early start time game in Seattle, super early start time for their body clocks. I think that's gonna be interesting. But I gotta look a little bit more into it. I know I don't want the Aces though. Just don't want the Aces. Let them rise says going with the under tonight. Caught it at 156. Christian says, think of woman warriors when you think about the Valkyries. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is right, Christian. Yep. The name was interesting to me, but yeah, it'll grow. It'll grow for sure. What up, Z? Nice says, good morning, Chris. Looking forward to what you have to say. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do just that. Let's get into the one game that we have for today. We got the Lynx. They'll be on the road looking to kind of kind of bounce back. This team, they did come off a win. Bounce back against the Mystics. I gave out a team total under for the Mystics in that last game. I think it was like 74.5. And now you got them on the road. I think this line opened at like 6.5. And I think it opened at like 6.5 or 6. Might have been 7. I can't remember exactly what it was, but total opened a little higher as well. I think it was 156.5, something like that. And it's come down as well. So big injury news here is Europa is out. She's going to be out for the Mystics, and Nafisha Collier is listed as doubtful. I will have a hard time thinking that Fee's going to play in this game. You remember if you watched the show last week when they played against the Mystics on I think that was on Saturday. I talked about how much Fee means, and somebody actually DM'd me this question on Twitter. It said, like how does that impact the game with Fee not being there? Like who, picks up the rotation? Who benefits the most with Nafisha Collier being out? How does it affect how does her absence affect the game flow? And we talked about it offensively and defensively. The Lynx, I think gonna feel the impact without Nafisha Collier being there. Now on the other side, Cameron Brink, Lexi Brown remain out. Stephanie Talbot also listed as questionable with a foot injury. But going back to Fee real quick before we jump into it, we talked about the Lynx last week and them struggling to score the basketball. Their offensive rating had dropped to bottom 3. I think they were like 11 for it. Might have even been 12. But defensively is how I thought they would win the game against the Mystics, especially a team that shoots a ton of 3-pointers, and that's what we saw in the previous game. So getting into this really, really quickly. You guys can see that the Lynx have the rest advantage here. 2 days of rest compared to 1. I think this is I know this is their first game of a 2-game road trip. And like I said, they've been struggling recently. Only 1-4 against the number in their last 5 games, which we knew that they were going to cool off eventually, the ATS numbers, because they were just red hot. Still, 14-8 against the spread, but they have not looked great against the number recently. They didn't even cover against the Mystics because that line ended up, closing at 9. So they didn't cover there. 16-6 on the season. On their road games, they've been pretty good as well. 6-4, straight up 7-3 against the number. But as I was mentioning, look at their offensive rating in the last 5 games. They really struggled to score the basketball. 11th rated offensive team, but still hanging their hat on the defensive end. This is what Cheryl Reeves does. She always employs a team, to be able to go out there and get stops. So 2nd rated defense and 5th rated overall in their last 5 games. So real quick, before we jump to the Sparks, I want to go back real quickly to the Lynx last game against the Mystics. The Lynx did not shoot the ball well, as we all kind of expected. They struggled to shoot the ball in that game against the Mystics, only scored 74 points, but it was their defense, like we said, that kept them in the game. They only shot 38.6% from the field, 35.7% from the 3-point line. But they held the Mystics to under 42% shooting and only 25% shooting from the 3-point line. 7 for 28 is what the Mystics shot. And the reason why I bring that up is because the The Mystics and the Sparks have a lot in common, in my opinion. They're both teams that like to shoot a ton of threes. When I was looking into it, um, the Sparks are a team that jacks as well. They've shot over the last 5 games. They've shot well from the three-point line, especially from the above the break three. They're number 2 in above the break three makes, attempts, and field goal percentage. But again, Minnesota is number 2 in opponent above the break three field goal percentage and opponent above the break three makes, and they only allowing teams to make 4 per game. So, and this is all last 5 game stats for the Lynx. So, yeah, if I had to play the game, I would be looking at the Sparks team total to go under. I know somebody mentioned it earlier. I just kind of feel like, the thing about the Sparks is this. Well, before I get to the Sparks, so without Fee being there, the Lynx will, I think, continue to have to rely on their defense again. On Saturday, like I said, they were able to hold Washington to under 70 points. Both of these teams, the Lynx and the Sparks, both play at a bottom 5 pace over the last 5 games as well. So you don't see the Lynx really pushing it a lot. And you got a double season in season double revenge spot as well. I think that's important to mention here. The Sparks have already beat. The Lynx have already beat the Sparks twice this season. The first time they beat them 86-62 in LA, I think it was. They were laying 7 points in that game back on the 5th. And then the Sparks started that 7-game road trip, and they went to Minnesota. They ended up covering the number. That was a game that Nafisha Collier did play in. They ended up covering the number, but I think the Sparks were just, not covering those big numbers. That's when they were all laying double digits in those games. So, do the Sparks cover here? I'm honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I want to lay the points with the Lynx here, but like I said, the Lynx offense just hasn't been clicking enough. I think you just attack the total, in my opinion. And the last thing I'll say about that specifically is that the double in-season revenge spot. So long-term trend says that a home dog seeking double same season revenge. So you've lost to the team that you're playing against twice and your dog at home. 124, 79, and 4. So it's happened over 200 times in the WNBA. And it's a trend towards the under. 61.1% of the time the game goes under. And like I said, I think the Lynx just going to have to win with their defense and not necessarily their offense because they've been struggling from the field. So that's the way I would look at this game, would be towards the team total under. I want to go through the comments just really quickly. And then I want to touch on player prop in a second. And I also want to touch on another way that I would look at playing this game as well. So, as it says, Lynx, filling Lynx -5.5, but iffy. Something about it. Yeah, I kind of saw that too. Helm says he saw 7.5 before Carl got ruled out. I thought so. I thought I saw 7.5 as well, Helms. Lightbearer says top of the morning. What's up, Blizz? Dropping Dime says he likes the first half to go under 78.5. So this is the thing that scares me here, Dropping Dimes, if I'm being honest with you. So the Lynx are, if you look at the first half specifically, the Lynx are 9-3-1 to the under in the first half. So that bodes really, really well. Them playing really good defense early. But, and as a favorite, they're 8-4-1 to the under as well. But here's what scares me a little bit about that. The Sparks, if the Sparks score points, it actually comes in the first half. They've not been a great second half team. That was actually what the second play was. But I'll jump back into that in a second. So that scares me a little bit, but don't let me talk you off. I think if I'm playing it, I'm just taking the full game to go under. And I'll get into a little bit more of, how I think the points are going to be scored. Because if you've been tracking, I do track all my plays. If you've been tracking my bets that I make against the Sparks, they've been trash. The Sparks are a team that religiously takes my money because I want to fade them early, but they've been pretty decent early in games. What you find, if you go back and look at the numbers, is that they struggle in the second half of games. They can't put it together for 4 quarters, which is typically what we see from teams that, are young. And the Sparks are only 5-16 when you think about it straight up. Bliss says, not sure where Caleb McBride total is, but where it is set, but he likes it. He likes that. Yeah, we'll talk about a couple of the player props in a second. I'll let you guys know how I'm looking. Jay Holiday says he cashed on Angel Reese 13 consecutive double at plus 900 on Sunday. Yeah, I think she's down to plus 300 to win Rookie of the Year is what I saw. Caitlin Clark's still a big favorite. I think she's like minus 500. But Angel Reese has, tremendously dropped that number. And for good reason. Definitely for good reason. Kayla McBride points sitting at 16.5 right now. So we'll talk about it. And Courtney Williams is also interesting as well at 12.5. But we'll talk about those. Christian asking about props. We'll get back into some in a second. Helm says 16.5 Liz, plus money. Yep, plus money to cover. Saw that. Justin says I'm seeing 75.5 for the Sparks. Might hit the under after the show. Yeah, I think it's the best way, Justin. But hold on, before you leave, Justin, let's talk. We're gonna talk about one more way. Sparks and over, Ian says. Jay says he likes the Courtney Williams props. We will touch on the props in a second. And Helm says live bet the Lynx money line after the Sparks get up 20-13 to start the game. Helms, you says haha. I actually think that this is something that I felt a way to play this before the game starts, in my opinion, because this makes a ton of sense. The Sparks start off hot. We see it religiously now, and then they can't keep up. So I'm gonna give you guys some numbers that support this. What up, Bruce? Appreciate you for tapping in as well. He says everyone is going to hammer De'Erica Hamby today. And Lightbearer says the Sparks win tonight. I don't think that they win tonight, but don't let me talk you off. So going back to what was just said, this comment right here by Helms, live bet the Sparks money line after they get up 20-13. And looking at this comment from Dropping Dimes, under 78.5 in the first half. Here's what so when I went back and looked at it, because what we've seen, you guys let me know if you agree in the comments, but if you've been watching these WNBA games, what you've seen is a lot of inconsistencies throughout the game, right? Which is why I've kind of gone away from betting first quarters and first half. The Lynx, for example, the Liberty, one of the best first quarter teams that we've seen probably in WNBA history throughout like the first 10 games of the season. Last 5 games, the Liberty are shooting 25% from the 3-point line, which is the worst in the WNBA, and are averaging the second fewest points. So if you've been taking the Liberty first quarter team total, you've been wrong a lot recently for whatever reason. So I say all that to go back here. When I was going through it, the numbers that back up the Lynx, the numbers that back up the Sparks don't score after halftime are here. So the Sparks just played their last 5 first quarters. I went and looked at this last night. They lost by they scored 15 points in the fourth quarter to the Mercury on Sunday. They scored 14 points to Vegas on Friday in the fourth quarter. They scored 16 points to the Washington Mystics on last Tuesday, 16 to Phoenix on Sunday. So the trend here is teams, 15, 14, 16, 16. Their offense kind of run out of gas and they can't put it together for fourth quarters recently. So if you go back and look at those margins, against Phoenix on Sunday, they lost that game by 4 in the fourth quarter. Against the Aces, they lost by 10. It was 24-14 in the fourth quarter. Against the Mystics, they lost by 14. The Mystics outscored them 30-16 in the fourth quarter. In that game where the Mystics came back and won by 2, I think it was 82-80. And then before that, the last game of their 7-game road trip, they also lost by 4 in the fourth quarter as well. So it's been a lack of fourth quarter scoring for them. Last 5 games, if you put all that together, last 5 games, the Sparks have the worst fourth quarter net rating in the WNBA. They are -7 in net rating, and they failed to cover against the Mercury on Sunday after leading that game outright for the whole game. For anybody who watched it, up until about 3 minutes left, I thought that they were going to pull off a win, and Natasha Cloud was like, "Nah, we're not losing this game," and she kind of put the team on her back. But the Sparks literally did not score a point in like the last 3 minutes of the game. So you can give credit to the Phoenix Mercury defense, or you could just say the Sparks just can't score the basketball late, and they kind of all their mojo kind of runs out. So the second bet that leads me to the second bet. You could, if you do have FanDuel, you can go in on FanDuel and just look at the fourth quarter spread. It was -0.5 point for the Lynx to just win the fourth quarter. All they got to do is win the fourth quarter by 1. Because going back to the comment that was just made by Helms, live bet the Lynx money line after the Sparks get up 20. That's what you kind of betting that before the game start, that the Sparks, potentially start the game off slow and then they end up having to win the fourth quarter. The only way that this isn't, that game flow type game is if the Sparks get up early and then they end up pulling all their starters. And then if the Lynx get up early, end up pulling all their starters late. And then the Sparks, come back and potentially win the fourth quarter. But if you think the game's gonna flow like it has been flowing for the Sparks, like I said, you can go ahead and take a pregame bet on the Lynx fourth quarter spread. It's only minus half a point. I think that's a pretty good bet for anybody who wants to bet early. All right. So now that I explained that, let's see what you guys saying about that. Then we'll go back into some props. Justin says, I ain't going nowhere. I need help with the W. So we all need help with the W. Bruce says, I really like Rickea Jackson over her 17.5 points plus rebounds. She is coming off a career high game. I don't know if that means she's a play on Bruce or we should fade her in this spot, but she is coming off I think it was a career high for her. Rickea Jackson is. Real quick, let's go back in and look at that. I know she was shooting the leather out the ball in the last game because I remember hearing it. I was kind of like, yeah, she had 22 points. I'm pretty sure it was a career high. She shot 8 for 17. She'll have, she played, pretty much the whole game, 37 minutes. She's at home, but I think she'll have to put her head down and get to the rim in this game because, like I said, the Sparks been shooting the 3-point ball really, really well, at least, for the first half of the game. And then they struggle in the second half. But the Lynx defense, that's what they kind of, specialize on. I'm not sure what to do with De'Erica Henby because I've seen the Lynx defense, do really, really well against some bigs outside of Asia Wilson. Like they do well against Jacko Jones. They do well against bigs because they do a great job of, doubling and, just kind of taking that away from some of the bigs. I'm pretty sure Fee doesn't play today, which I'm thinking Fee doesn't. She'll probably end up drawing Alana Smith. Alana Smith. I always call her Elena Smith. End up drawing Alana Smith. And they just do a really good job. Cheryl Reeves does a really good job of helping out. Ouija says Giannis is and Smith might be a problem for Hamby. Yeah, it won't be easy. Chad says shout out to the Mystics for that comeback to cash. I remember you being on them to win. I know you won't count on that one, Chad. Dropping down says once Liberty first quarter team total went from 21.5 to 23.5 and 24.5. I had to leave him alone. Smart guy. Helm says I like to pivot a lot. And I think that's the way you do it. Or if you don't want to play them, pregame fourth quarter spread, you do what you said, Helms. Because if you can get this line, if you can get the Mystics, -1. I'm sorry, not the Mystics. If you can get the Lynx -1.5, -2.5, at halftime or something like that, I can see that cashing. I could definitely see that cashing. FanDuel could be my op at time too, Justin, right there with you. Bissy says, don't let Dream come in here and remind you freeloaders to hit the like button. Come on, people. I appreciate that, Bissy. Yeah, hit the like button if you guys enjoy the show, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the reminder, Bissy. Helm says Rickea over her points prop 4 games in a row now. Okay, so Rickea has been cashing. Let's see. Held Jacko Jones to 3 points in that Commissioner's Cup. Yeah. Now, of course, you need that same type of motivation. They were playing for, what was it, 500K that they were going to split. I think it was like 45 racks per player. I think it ended up being, but yeah, definitely. Let's see. What else y'all saying? Mitchell says live bet may be the way to take this, getting the spread under 3. Yeah, they could. Like I said, the Sparks can literally just run out of gas and not cover at the end of the game. That's what they have been doing. If you go back and look at it, let's see, fourth quarter. Let's see. So at the end of the third quarter in their last game, the Sparks they lost the first quarter by 10 to the Mercury. They won the second quarter by 7. Okay, so they were down 3 at halftime, and then they win the third quarter by 1. So they were down 6. They were down 6 going into the fourth quarter, and then Yeah, they were down 6 going into the fourth quarter. They end up taking the lead in the fourth quarter, like I said, and then still just run out of gas. They only scored 15 points in that fourth quarter. So makes a lot of sense in my opinion to look at the Sparks. Either, like I said, look at the Sparks team total under 74.5. Oh, 75.5. I'm sorry. Or just to look at the Lynx fourth quarter spread minus a half a point. And I gave you guys a bunch of trends to why. All right, now as far as props go, somebody asked about props. Let's get into props real quick, and then I'm gonna get up off here. Courtney Williams sticks out to me. She really, really does. So 12.5, and the first thing I go to is who's gonna be needed in Napheesa Collier's absence. And it's not an easy question, in my opinion. I don't think it's an easy answer just because he does so much for the team. And the one thing about the one thing about the Lynx is they really share the basketball. So, when we talked about them earlier, we talked about fading Fee a couple times because they didn't need to shoot the ball that much. I mean, they don't rely on one player to score all the points. This is a well-balanced team. I'm looking it up real quick, but I want to say they're number one in assist rate. They are number one in assist rate on the full season, on the last 5 games, and the last 10 games, because they just really pass it around and find the open shooter. So it's really difficult for me to say, this one player is going to dominate the basketball and has a lot of value. But Courtney Williams, like I said, her points prop listed at 12.5. She has the mid-range shot. She can get downhill. She can also shoot the three-point shot at times. I don't really like her shooting the three too much, but she can shoot the three and, stretch the floor. Let's see. In the last game, the only game without Napheesa Collier so far this season, Courtney Williams had 17 points. She shot 16 times. So I would probably look at Courtney Williams. Over 12.5 is available on DraftKings right now, minus 110. I think she's a good look. I definitely think she's a good look. You also got Kayla McBride listed at, like I said, 16.5 is plus money on most books. Kayla McBride is coming off a game where she had 17 points. We know she's a sharpshooter from the three-point line. She only took 12 shots in that game, but she was, efficient. She went 2 for 4 from the three-point line as well. So I guess you could look at one of them, but Xander Seeley off the bench, like she only had 10 points in the last game. If she started a little bit earlier in the season, I think she could be in running for sixth player of the year. She is really, really good for people who haven't had a chance to watch, the Lynx play. She's really, really good off the bench. Super confident, can stretch the floor, 3-level score. But what if this is an Atisha Heidemann game or a Diamond Miller game? So it's really difficult for me to want to, say who I think is going. And it also could be a Bridget Carlton game as well. She, plays a similar style that Napheesa Collier does. She also stretches the floor. She's a 3-point shooter. So it's difficult for me to want to give out one player, but I think if I had a player prop, it would be Courtney Williams. I would probably look at her to go up and over her 12.5 points in this game, just because she, like I said, is coming off a really good game. So I could see Courtney Williams having a really good game. She'll have the ball in her hands a lot as well. Let's see what you guys are saying about this one. Ari McDonald under 13 points? No, that scares me a little bit. And I see her at 11.5. I'm not sure where you see a 13 at. Ari is so fast. Man, she had Kelsey Plum in the blender in that last game. It was pretty bad. Helm says Williams shot a lot when Collier was in. She chucked last game, and I don't see her stopping. Love that. Yeah, that's the way I would play it. I would look at I would definitely be, that's the only way I would play it, is I would be looking towards her to go up and over her 12.5 points. So getting into a quick recap before we get off here. And before we do that real quick, let's just be thorough with it. Let's go. Last thing I'll do real quick is just look back at, I already know. I'm just thinking about, if I like guards, I want to see how guards have been attacking, the Sparks. And I think we all know the answer to that. We just had a game where the Sparks gave up. Now, granted, they're two different players, but they just played a game against the Mercury where they let the lead guard do whatever it is that she wanted. like I said, don't have to think too much about this one. Natasha Cloud shot 10 for 16 from the floor, 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. I think it was a career high 31 points. She really took over in the fourth quarter, and that was with Brittany Griner out there. Kalia Copper also had 25. So the guards dominated against the Sparks in this game. Let's go back real quick and see what has been going on in the last few games against the Sparks. Just trying to give you guys a player prop that I would take. Against the Aces, I think nobody really played well. I think Jackie Young played well. Jackie Young had 18 in this game. Kelsey Plum also had 21. So they struggled against guards. Asia had 35. It was only Chelsea Gray who didn't play well. She had 3 points in that back-to-back. I remember that. And let's go Mystics real quick, too. So against the Mystics, when they lost 80-82, it was Shatoria Walker-Kimbrough, who had another guard. Off the bench, played 28 minutes and had 17 points, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. Ariel Atkins also had 12 in their starting guard rotation. And Van Loo also had 15. So they really struggle against guards. Really struggle against guards. And it makes sense if you got Rakia Jackson out there playing a bunch of minutes. I think her defense is going to get better. Right now, it's not it right now. So, yeah, I would definitely be looking towards Courtney Williams. I'm not going to go through all these box scores, but as you can tell, last 3 games has been the guards that's really been eating against the Sparks. One more real quick. The last time they played the Mercury, before the last time they played the Mercury, it was, Kalia Copper, 24 points in that game. Natasha Cloud had 14, which I'm pretty sure is over her points prop. Diana Taurasi, the other guard out there, had 20 points. So, 2014 and 24 in that last road game of a 7-game road trip. I would be looking at Courtney Williams go over 12.5 points, even more than I was already looking at it now. So, that's how I'm kind of seeing the game. I talked about all of these. If you guys join late, do me a favor, hit the like button. But I talked about all of these in detail. So if you join late, just go back. I'll break the show up in the chapters. But Sparks team total under 75.5. If you don't want to play that, I gave out a ton of reasons why I would be looking towards, the Minnesota Lynx fourth quarter, just minus the half a point, just because, just go back and listen to the breakdown. But I gave that out. Also, you got the rest advantage for the Lynx here as well. And Courtney Williams over her 12.5 points. Lastly, I want to mention Chad shouted this out in the chat at the beginning. I think he said the way that he was playing the game makes a lot of sense. He says Lynx just to win the game by a 1-10 margin. So as long as they win the game by less than 10, by less than 11, then you cash a plus 160. I like this comment from Chad as well. I think that they do win the game, and I think it's going to be between 1 and 10. Now, can they win by double digits? Potentially. But without Fee and their offense struggling so much, I wouldn't play that. But best player prop be Courtney Williams over 12.5 points. 17 without Fee in that last game. She's listed as doubtful. I don't think she's going to play in this one. So that's how I'm kind of seeing the game, man. Best of luck to you guys. We'll get on here tomorrow. Hopefully I can get Ski to come back with me and, come on the show tomorrow. Like I said, early start time games. I'm going to be firing off some looks for tomorrow today because there's 2 of them that I like. I know I like for sure. And hopefully we can get some money before the lines start to move too much for tomorrow. Resources that I use are here, moneyballer.com. Definitely check them out. I got one of the key situational numbers, the double in-season revenge from the moneyballer.com website earlier today. And always check out OddsJam where you guys can get, shop around and get the best price for whatever bet that it is that you want to play. Get 25% off your first month using code CBC at checkout. The link for that is in the description, as is the link for all my official plays in the description as well. So if you enjoyed the show, you found that helpful, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, share the show, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Best of luck on all your action that you guys do have for today. And super excited to talk about the slate for tomorrow. We'll end there. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Y'all be good and have a great Tuesday. I'm out.